going on, man? We're gonna have a conversation today. We're gonna have a conversation today. Because a lot of misconceptions and a lot of trickery and this misdirection. You know, the terms OG and big homie are being overused and actually given to the wrong people. You know, so we're gonna have real conversations about this. You know what I'm saying? So, you know, we've been watching a lot of this bullshit online, and for a lot of us authentic, real rights, as we call ourselves, we don't usually do the online shit, right? It became a process where we seen that when you know, the era I'm from, you didn't have to talk, you didn't have to speak much. You know, they recognized real when you walked in the building. When you was another real dude, they seen you. It was your actions dictated who you were. So it was very rare that you really had to say nothing. You know what I'm saying? You didn't have to say, yo, I'm such and such. I'm this and that. I'm this and that. You didn't have to say that. You didn't have to advertise that, right? Because through your actions, through your presence, people were able to sense that. They was able to separate you from the fake. People were able to discern, like, okay, that's what it was. But moving into this era of the internet, it became harder for that to happen because a lot of the real rights dudes, we didn't get in front of cameras. We didn't want to talk about who we was. Like we usually ducked the cameras. That wasn't something that you even wanted to be involved with. So the suckers knew that, right? So they utilized the internet and they got on the internet first, right? And they got on here and they started advocating, saying how they was this big homie and they was the G's and they was OGs and all the work they put into somebody who don't know. They started to believe, wow, these are the people that's really the people. So they started to follow these people, right? And then the sucker shit and the suckers started to get real big. They started to get real big. They started to have voices. They started to dictate all type of the culture. You start getting words from the suckers. You got the 6ix9ines, you got the Wax, you got all of these dudes who profess to have this OG and these gangster status, and people started following that shit. And they started getting followers and people started getting bigger. And the falsehoods and the false narratives became prevalent in the culture, while the real dudes are sitting in the back like, I'm just gonna ignore this sucker shit. We just gonna ignore it. But what I started to realize is that you can't really ignore it when they have platforms of 20 and 30 million people paying attention to them and following them. They pretty much dictating the culture. And as they dictate the culture with sucker shit, it pretty much exiles the real ones. You know what I'm saying? Like, they exile the real ones because they oversaturate the culture with real sucker shit. It's like, so if you go to school and they teaching you lies, right? But you don't know what the truth is. Only thing you can say is, this is what I learned. This is the truth. Your truth is what you learn. So the suckers is the ones that was teaching this culture. And that's why you see the glorification of niggas who have lack of integrity. You know, that's why you see the feminism of masculinity, feminism over masculinity. That's why you see people glorifying shit that don't even make sense to glorify. That's why you see possessions being more valuable than a man's character and integrity, because the suckers changed the definition of what real was. Let me say it again. The suckers started to change the definition of what real was, because real was too hard for them to be. So they said, shit, for me to be real, I gotta have integrity. I gotta be a man that stands on what I stand on. I gotta have accountability. I gotta be able to mean what I say and say what I do. I gotta, like, all of these things. I can't do that. Nah, but I'm a man, but I can't do that. So we gonna change the definition of what real man look like, right? We gonna change it. We're gonna say, okay, you can still be a man even if you don't have no integrity. You know? As long as I got a reason for not having integrity, you can still be a man even if you put your hands on women. So what? She said something to me, I could punch her in the face. You know what I'm saying? Well, she shouldn't talk like that. Like, they started to redefine shit that was never in manhood, and they started to make it prevalent because they had the platforms to do so. So now what we're seeing is the results of that. We're seeing the results of suckers dictating the culture and miseducating the youth in the culture, because us as real dudes said, you know what, we're not getting on the internet. We're not gonna talk real. We're not gonna get involved in that shit because it's something that we weren't used to doing. So what we did is set ourselves back. We were sitting around silent watching the suckers win and getting mad that they winning, but not understanding that they was winning by default. They was winning by osmosis because we weren't running for the office, right? If you know somebody's going to take the office, right? It's like the presidential election. If it's only one candidate and he's selling a bunch of bullshit, right? People still got to vote. So if that's the only candidate, then he going to win by default. So what's happened is the sucker shit has won by default. The suckers have been winning by default because the real dudes chose silence and to stay away from the internet and stay away from all of this shit. So now what we have is an influx, an oversaturation, overpopulation of sucker shit on the internet. That's why niggas like Wack and 6ix9ine can do sucker shit like that and tell you that it's real shit. Man can interview somebody who has no integrity. I'm fuck street shit because we're not talking about street shit. We're talking about integrity. A man can interview somebody who has no integrity, who has no honor, who has no morals, and he can give him a platform. He can give him a platform to explain why he's a sucker, right? And then he can make people who don't know the difference say, yo, you know what? That kind of makes sense. Because you standing next to somebody that they actually thought they respected. But you didn't realize that his whole thing is about making a dollar. He don't really have no integrity. He don't stand for nothing. There's no code or anything. He's willing to move the needle and change the definition of anything so that it benefits him. Right? So when you watching a person like Wack, he is a victim of the culture, right? He watched the culture embrace sucker shit. So what he said is, fuck that. I'm gonna embrace the sucker shit too, and I'm gonna make some money off of it. I don't have to have integrity. I know that the shit I'm saying and doing don't really make sense. I know that none of this shit is real, but I'm gonna embrace it because I can make a dollar off of it. I can utilize the same sucker shit that they doing, and I don't even care about my own integrity. Because for me, I don't care about integrity no more. Integrity means nothing to me. At this point, it's about me making money and being able to sustain my family and feed people, because integrity, what you stand on, honor, morals, principle, character, none of that shit means anything to him, right? So what has to happen is the people who understand that morals, values, principles, and character actually is what create manhood have to utilize these same platforms. We have to utilize these same platforms. We can't allow the term OG and big homie to be given to niggas who have not earned that title. A lot of these dudes that you gave OG title to or big homie was dojers. They were sent out on a dummy mission. They committed a crime, shot, stabbed somebody that looked just like them. Right? But they didn't know no better. They stabbed, shot, did all type of shit to somebody that looked just like them and sat in jail. And what they did was they took their responsibility, right? So that was the part. So when they took the responsibility and they manned up and they did their time or whatever, they came home given a status that they really never really earned. Only thing they did was go on a dummy mission, right? Most of them, it's a lot of it. Some of them, there was no thought process. So when you give somebody an OG and big homie, right? You got to be a thinker. You can't be a leader and a general and all this shit and you don't even have a thought process. Any man that tells you that because you call somebody a rat, who ratted, you're supposed to see that person and risk your freedom, your life, your everything, and attack that man, is nowhere near OG. That's not even common sense. Common sense tells you that that don't make sense. If I call you a rat because you ratted, it's not on me to do anything. If I see that dude and say, yo, that dude right there is a rat, I'm prepared that you might feel a way and you might try to do something to me, right? I'm prepared. I understand that reality. I understand that you might feel a type of way, and I'm prepared to deal with that. But me attacking you and having to beat you up because I called you a rat makes absolutely no sense. And anybody who tells you that can't be an OG, because it's not common sense. It's not common sense. A nigga wants you to go against your common sense to do some shit that you know makes no sense. But as a man of honor, when I see somebody that has lacked integrity trying to invade and deal in spaces, right, and benefit off the culture that is based off integrity, that's based off a street culture, and you violate all of the terms of the culture, every code, term, and everything of that